and welcome. I recently finished a book called Black Box Thinking by Matthew Syed, and it really changed my way of thinking about failure. I always had a feeling that failure might not be the worst, but after reading that book I got confirmed why failure is really not the worst, and it is the opposite. It's the beginning of learning and improvement. And I mentioned failure every now and then in my videos, and this video is all about failures in general because I think it's not talked about enough that failure is just part of our life and that it is nothing to be ashamed of. And in this video I want to share a little bit my failures, but also what I learned from it and how I changed my mindset about failures in general. And hopefully this will help you to also think differently about failures and to think about your own failures you have done so far, and also what you will do next when a failure happened or when you experience setbacks. In the book Black Box Thinking, Matthew Syed compares the failure with the black box in airplanes. And normally every time there is a crash or something happened, then investigators use that black box to find out what happened, and not only to find out what happened, but also spread the information to anyone and everywhere so people can learn from the mistakes, from the failures which happen. And then just imagine we would treat our failures in the same way. They happen, we would analyze them, we learn from them, and then we improve our way of doing things. And instead of fearing failure, we can just move on and grow from them. And after reading this book, I reflected a little bit also on my own failures, and I could immediately see that these failures are actually now part of my stories. It's part of who I am and how I now operate and work as well. So again, I wouldn't say these are failures in the sense of it, but improvements and things I learned from. But before I dive into my failures, make sure to subscribe to this channel and also grab your Etsy ebook. If you're interested in publishing digital products on Etsy, then I have a whole ebook with over 100 pages which help you setting up your own shop. You find a link in the description below, and hopefully this will help you to minimize your failures, but also it's fine if you make a few mistakes here and there on your journey. There's actually two main failures I want to talk about. I'm sure there are many more, but that would just explode this video and it will never end. But yeah, my first one was when I had a blog. It was called Found Some Paper, and it was all about creativity and design. I talked a lot about design in general, and if I want to cut the story very short, I would say it failed. It doesn't exist anymore. I didn't make money with it, and that's it. But the truth of it is, it was a very fun time. At the time I lived in London, UK, and it opened a lot of doors for me. I got invited to a lot of art exhibitions before they opened to kind of look at them and talk about them. I got invited to a lot of events, and they had free food and free drinks, and you could get to know a lot of like-minded people, other bloggers, design bloggers. It was honestly a very cool time. I was so much younger as well, so it was a great opportunity for me to get to know people. I basically just moved there or was living there for just a year, so it was an amazing opportunity, and I'm still so happy I did it. And again, it didn't bring me money. Every time you think something is successful, a lot of times it is attached to money, did I make money with it, especially when it comes to creating things like that, like a blog, for example. But you don't really consider all the other things which were very beneficial in that time. So I do not regret having this blog, but I will talk a little bit about what I learned from my failures, because there are reasons, why this blog doesn't exist anymore, and I will talk about this in a second. But then there's something else I created, and it was actually a e-commerce platform, and it was called Secrets of Green. And I really loved the concept actually, because it was all about bringing greenery in your space, like in your home space, to create a calm, mindful and conscious living environment. So I had a lot of decoration items, and the concept was that I also connected with a lot of individuals, small businesses who were selling these items, decoration items, pictures or plant-related items, greenery, candles, anything to enhance your home. And I made all these connections, and I sold these items on my platform, on my website, and I did everything around it. I did all the marketing around it. We did like really, really cool events, amazing collaborations. I did pop-ups as well. It was honestly very incredible time where I learned so much. I've never done anything like this before, so it was really new to me. And again, if you just look at, oh, how much money did she make with it? I didn't make much money. I did some money, but it was nowhere near to make a living, So in that regard, I failed basically, and I also failed because I did stop at some point, because sometimes, you don't know if you continued, would it be like better or more successful? So obviously stopping something also kind of feels like a failure, right? But again, like I learned so much. I had an army of interns at some point, which was really cool to collaborate with all these bright young minds. It gave me like skills, like management skills, and obviously I learned a lot about marketing and social media in general, and even like event organizing, because I organized quite a few events. That was so much interesting things which I never anticipated would be also part of what I was planning with this e-commerce website. So why do I even talk about failure? I think failure needs to be normalized. It's part of everyone's journey. When you hear success stories, you never hear the failures before, and you always think that these people are just crazy amazing people who just manage to avoid failure and are intelligent and work so hard that failure is just not part of their journey. I also think like if we share more about our failures and what we learned from it, then others can learn from it, and maybe don't have to go through these exact failures and can do other things which maybe fail, and communicated about it, and we can learn from each other. But also, help others, like just don't feel bad about it. Stay for yourself, and think like, oh my God, what a failure am I? But by sharing it and, and talking about it, we also able to help each other. And lessons I've learned from my failure is, first of all, failure is just a word, and quite a negative word. So what it is more, it's like feedback. If you have done something and you have failed, then it is feedback. You can reflect on it. You can think about it. What did I do wrong maybe, or what should I have done differently? And it is feedback, and you can really take that on and think about it, analyze it, and then move on. And success requires reiteration. So failure brings you closer to a better version of yourself or your work. If you think about it, like sometimes when there's a product, how many prototypes it actually take to have the end product out. Like again, all these things, the behind the scenes, you sometimes just don't know, and you don't see it as a part of success. Like if I talk about all my failures, but then in the future I have done something very specific and that is successful, then I can definitely say that it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have my failures before. And the real problem is also the fear of failure. Like again, we should normalize it more, that failure is part of everyone's journey, really everyone's journey. There's not a single person who has not failed in specific parts of their lives. It is just something we have to go with, and it's probably a very good thing that we do fail sometimes, because that makes us stop and think about who we are, what we want, and how we can reach things. So trying to really get away from this fear of failure is a big lesson learned. And how can you embrace failure? I think it starts with reframing your mindset. Start seeing failure as part of your journey and not the end of something. It is just part of a bigger picture. And then also analyze your black box. Really think about, when you reflect on what happened until the point you fail, like use that as a growth opportunity for yourself, for your character, and also the way you work. Last but not least, share your failure. That's what I'm doing today. Share your failure in the comments if you have any you want to share with me or others. Don't think it's anything bad. I would appreciate if you support this video by sharing your failure, so we all can feel better and normalize failure. But then there are also a few very specific things I personally learned from my failure. One is that I didn't persevere sometimes. I gave up, and that part is something I try to really incorporate now with everything I do. I do this YouTube channel, I do Etsy, for example, just to name two. I really made my goal to persevere and have at least a few years of consistency with content and on the Etsy side with products. I want to put out regularly, or at least not only at the beginning and then I just leave it. So yeah, perseverance is definitely something I learned. And then also to have a bit of a bigger picture. What do I really want to achieve? Sometimes in the past, when I was younger, I just did things for the fun of it, which is definitely a good part of it's a good intention for what you do, and it should be part of your journey. I think the fun part is sometimes also neglected when you start a business, but now I also have a bigger picture, some plans, like what do I really want to achieve with all the things I'm doing. And then the consistency, which goes kind of hand in hand with persistence, not only to put something out every now and then, but really be structured and have a good plan with consistent content, products. My to-do list is things I'm putting out, like newsletters or content on a regular basis. I have my days set for it and I'm sticking to it, and I persist with it. And then last but not least, I think, which is kind of an overall umbrella sometimes, is that I was too impatient. If I didn't see success, if I didn't get rewarded in some way or another, like with subscribers, with views, with money, with whatever it is, it was more likely that I gave up on things, or that I wasn't consistent anymore because I didn't see the rewards. I was only creating things for rewards, for outcome. And that is something I changed a lot over the past years, where I'm really concentrating on the bigger picture, on the plan I have in place, and not on a day-to-day or weekly kind of reward thing. I feel that the reward will come later. It's a delayed gratification. I think that's what you call it. So with everything in life, I try to do that I'm not just doing things for a reward, which maybe comes from childhood, I don't know. Maybe you only put effort in when you got something specific out of it. So I'm trying to avoid that a little bit. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below, what is a failure that taught you a big lesson? I'd love to hear your stories, and I thank you for watching till the end. I will see you in my next video. Bye!